If we want to be involved in changing policies and improving our communities, we need to know how our government is supposed to work. It can be complicated, but there are some basic principles that you will learn in this module, including U.S. subdivisions, the Constitution, levels of government and the branches of each level, and information about funding and taxes. The United States is subdivided into 50 states, 5 inhabited territories, and the District of Columbia. These have different authority and representation based on their charter type. Our state and territorial government areas are similarly subdivided and give authority and tasks for our common good to their agencies and smaller government units. In many states and territories, there are counties, which then subdivide into municipalities, cities, boroughs, townships, each of which has its own governmental charter. The Constitution was created to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, and promote the general welfare. Our founders knew they had a lot of land and people, and they expected to grow as a nation. The 10th Amendment of the Constitution was written to allow for some of those powers to be taken on by state governments and by the people. We have 3 separate levels of government: federal, state, and local. And likewise, each has 3 branches of government: executive, legislative, and judicial. People are most affected by their local government, but often don't understand the relationship among local, state, and federal. Each state and municipality has a constitution or a charter, which is the supreme law or legal document that outlines organization, duties, and procedures. The 3 branches of government on each level, federal, state, and local, were established in our Constitution to ensure a separation of powers so that one of the branches could not take control of the others. These branches also ensure that stuff gets done. The legislative branch makes the laws. The executive branch, with its agencies, carries out the laws, and the judicial branch determines the meanings of the laws and applies them to real situations. Each level of government raises taxes so they can provide services and maintain their responsibilities to the people. We as citizens are aware of being taxed, but we often don't know where those taxes go, and we often feel like we don't have input into how those taxes get used. Most people really don't understand how much of the funding that allows local programs and services to happen flows from the federal government through the states to the local municipalities. The federal government makes funds available to the states for specific needs, for example, health care or the building of roads and bridges. But if the state government does not ask for the funds, then that state does not get the allotted funding. And if the local government does not ask for the funds from the state, then the local municipalities don't get those funds for those local projects. We as citizens need to be aware of whether or not the local and state governments are asking for these funds, and if not, why not? We also have to be aware of how each state uses the funds differently, depending upon their state legislature. If you are concerned about the lack of funding in your state or how funds are used, it is the involvement of citizens that can make the difference. If we focus on the local government, but understand how local, state, and federal governments are related, we can have a broader picture and be more effective in pushing for local needs. A lot of what we see around us is managed by those who run things locally. If you want to get more involved in making a difference in your community, get to know which level of government is at play with an issue you care about, and how the levels of government and their agencies work together to make it happen.